Home Alone 5, or Home Alone The Holiday Heist, premiered on TV in 2012. And to be honest, the titles are a lot better. We actually get a bit of the music this time too. And you can already tell that the budget is a lot better than the last one. Things are starting to look up. This time we follow the character of Finn Baxter as he moves into a new house with his family in Maine. A house that's apparently haunted.
Is this house haunted?
Haunted? Don't be silly. It just has personality.
What's that supposed to mean?
Wait a minute, a haunted house in Maine? Is this Stephen King's old house? So the kids in the film are your average kids. I mean, Finn loves playing video games and his sister loves her phone. What's this, a theme? Okay, look, it's good that you're trying to do a theme, but let's be honest, this is a Home Alone movie, so chances are the message is probably going to be pretty muddled by the end. Let's do a roll call. We've got Malcolm McDowell, Debbie Mazar, and Crabman?
Hey, Earl. Hey, Crabman. Hey, Earl. Hey, Crabman. Hey, Earl. Hey, Crabman.
Yeah, the criminals are fine. Nothing offensively bad, nothing amazing, but they do their part. So people think the house is haunted because a gangster was killed there a long time ago, and the criminals are hoping to break into the house because they believe that the gangster had possession of a very valuable painting. Down in the basement there's a safe that used to belong to this gangster. But the criminals, after breaking in, just 20 minutes into the film, don't realise that there's more to the safe than meets the eye. And as a result, Finn and his sister manage to get through the safe into a secret room that houses the painting. And that's why our criminals want to get into the house. I have to give the film credit for making the most of the haunted house concept. I mean, Finn actually makes his first trap because he thinks that there's going to be a ghost coming into his room. And even beyond that, he sees evidence that the burglaries have been in the house initially and writes it off as the presence of a ghost.
This was locked. I tried it. A ghost must have opened it.
And not only that, the criminals are convinced that the house is haunted as well.
This guy in town was telling me this place is haunted. The gangster who stole your great-granny's picture, he got murdered in this house. I don't want to upset some ghost gangster.
So he can play with their perceptions of the house being haunted when we get to the traps later on. So the kids are acting a little bit bratty and don't want to go to a Christmas party that the mom is going to for her new job, and as a result they're grounded, leaving them.
We're home alone.
There you have it. Now, when the criminals broke into the house earlier, they saw this invitation, so they assumed that everyone in the family is going to be at this Christmas party. But of course, Finn and his sister are at home to take the burglars on. So it's when they're grounded that they do a bit of exploring and discover the bootlegging room at the back of the safe. Unfortunately, Finn's sister gets locked inside there unbeknownst to him, but anytime she tries to call him, he thinks it's a ghost. See, it's little touches like that that make me think they actually put some thought into this one, unlike the fourth film. With his sister locked in the safe, Finn is basically left to fight the burglars alone, but he's not fully alone because thanks to gaming, he's met the nicest guy on the internet.
If I'd known you were just a kid, I wouldn't have overkilled you so many times.
Want to play again?
Sure, I'll even give you some pointers.
See? He didn't say he was going to sleep with his mom or anything. All that being said, he's probably the most reasonable person to ever exist in the Home Alone universe.
A 10-year-old who's been left home all by yourself, and now real thieves are trying to break in? I've got to call the cops or your parents or like Jack Bauer or something.
See? Although he kind of does some other stuff that makes him like a total weirdo.
Hello?
Mrs. Baxter, I'm calling about your son.
Who is this, and how did you get this number?
I hacked Finn's gamertag and I got your info from the credit card statement.
This leads to a really obvious joke, but probably my favourite scene in the movie.
We met online and,
What?
Okay, so that came out wrong. Something bad is gonna happen to him.
What? Are you threatening my son?
Your daughter is locked in the basement.
You kidnapped my kids! I'm phoning the police, you sick monster!
That did not go as planned.
Which leads to him being raided by a SWAT team, and look, I know it was a big misunderstanding, but he did hack someone's account, and he's also now hacked into someone's webcam. You should probably arrest that guy. And then we come back to the mixed messages of the Home Alone series, because as much as they were pushing the idea that video games are bad, you should go outside, it kind of saved the day. Like, his experience playing video games kind of helps Finn to set the house up for these traps to work.
Finn, press pause for a bit, why don't you, kiddo? Let's just keep it in the real world.
You gotta get out of the house once in a while.
You know what my dad always says?
What?
You gotta get out of the house once in a while, buddy. It's the best game there is.
Sounds like a tower defense game. Key to these types of games, you need to stagger your defenses, okay?
I can use my environment.
Great. Yeah, that's how these games usually work.
I have to identify the weakness in my perimeter. My perimeter is totally holding up.
Take whatever you want from the message, I guess. Which brings us to the trap scenes, which are a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, I don't think any of the traps are especially memorable, but there is some kind of cute things and cool things about a few of them. Like, all of the burglars end up as something Christmassy, like Debbie Mazar ends up looking like Rudolph.
Rudolph.
Crabman ends up looking like Santa Claus.
Look like Santa Claus.
Would have been a lot easier to turn Malcolm McDowell into Santa Claus. Could have just super glued a hat onto his head. But Malcolm McDowell doesn't get left out. He does get turned into a Christmas present and sent flying down the stairs, which I don't know if this counts as a reaction, but I'm going to say my best reaction to the film is just watching his head bounce as he goes down the stairs. Let's put that on loop for a little bit. Which I suppose I should do best trap. I mean, like I said, they're not necessarily very memorable, but there's one trap I really like, but it's let down by the fact that it's CGI, and I just think it's a really clever idea. I mean, there's a lot of originality there, but unfortunately it just lacks the impact because it's not a practical effect. I also like the ending to this movie. It turns out that the painting is a painting by Edvard Munch, who Dad says is best remembered for The Scream, which leads to this scene.
He painted The Scream.
The what?
The Scream! You know this!
Oh, Dad. You guys.
That's pretty clever. In fact, there's actually quite a few homages to the first film.
Focus here.
Right.
We're not a bunch of two-bit bandits.
We're the wet bandits.
We're not going to be stymied by a slippery walkway.
Shots fired. Home Alone 5 is a massive step up from the fourth film, and sure, that's not saying much, but it's a pretty decent film overall. The performances and the criminals they introduce are pretty solid. I like the relationship between the brother and the sister. I got a laugh or two out of it as well, and it tries to engage with some themes and ideas, which admittedly are muddled, but they were admittedly muddled in the first few films as well. Ed Asner is there. I guess that's good. Sure, why not?
Wait a minute! Not sure.
Great! That's great.
Adult eggnog! An eggnog!
That being said, the traps are what really lets it down. I think that might be more a statement on the time the original films were made. I don't know if we're ever going to really get anything with the sort of darkness or sadistic sort of violence that the original films had. I just feel like that time might have passed us by, which unfortunately doesn't get me overly excited for any future installments in the series. And unfortunately, it's where this film majorly falls down, is those traps, because it is such a big part of the franchise. And that brings us to the end of the Home Alone series, which, even now that I've seen them all, I'm still surprised it's a series at all. It really feels like they caught lightning in the bottle the first time, and I've been trying to catch it ever since, and I've just missed. Really, it feels like the first film is the only one that managed to strike a delicate balance, and that balance was between heart, which is all the family dynamic and stuff, and realising the importance of family, and holding on to what we have and not taking it for granted. And the other side was all the harsh stuff, the violence, the sadistic, the kind of edge to our characters. It's even more shocking when you look at these two elements and realising that they ever mix together and work to begin with. And it seems like every time they try to do another Home Alone film, they either have too much heart or too much violence, and it never really works. And unfortunately, they're going to keep trying. Apparently they're making a Disney Plus reboot. And apparently they're making a stoner version with Ryan Reynolds. And I guarantee you the Disney Plus version might have more heart and the stoner version might have more violence. But I think to make the Home Alone movie work, You need to have a mixture of both, and I don't think any film has ever managed to really do that aside from the first film. So because of that, Merry Christmas. Maybe you should just throw on Home Alone and enjoy it. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
Bells on bobtail ring.